Hey everyone, welcome to the Friday live stream.
Good placement, Bob.
Bob, you're looking really good today.
Yeah.
Looking better than they usually do.
It's been a rough month. Hi, Andrea.
Hey, Andrea.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Andrea.
Thanks
Andrea,
for having me. It's great.
You know what I
to be
like
back.
about you? I got to tell you.
Uh-oh.
We only have an hour, Jay.
I know. All right. I won't take that deep of a breath. No, I like that I can call you up, say hi, and then say, hey, what are you doing Friday? And you're like, I'll be there. It was a very easy exchange.
Thanks for telling everyone I have literally nothing going on. That's great.
I'll check my busy schedule over here.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I'm free. I just want to hang out with you all. So, and hi everyone in the chat. Hello.
I guess what I'm telling you is that you're not complicated. You're not like I don't have to go through layers and negotiate and schedules and blah blah blah. You're just like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do it. And that was it.
Okay.
Send you the link and you show up on time, happy, and you took a shower. Fantastic.
Yes. How did you know? Is it?
No, I'm just comparing you to George because he doesn't do all those things.
That's the Andrea Jones where I guarantee is I will show up showered on the live stream. That's literally all I can guarantee.
I just
how's
woke up
everybody
20
been?
minutes ago.
Good morning.
Hi.
Another nap.
20 minutes ago, huh?
Not more than a nap. So I got my booster yesterday.
That's right. How'd it go?
So my arm feels like somebody hit it with a baseball bat a few times.
That was me.
That's what I felt too.
Then I had, the whole fever, body aches, chills, just feeling like crap. Literally got no sleep last night. Not a moment of sleep.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I had to go to work this morning. I could not change my schedule. So I powered through my morning clinic, came home, went to bed, missed all my afternoon conferences, just slept for 4 hours.
Ooh.
And just woke up 20 minutes ago. I told my wife, get me up at 4:30 for the live stream, or at least check in with me. We'll see if I can get up. But it was a good sleep. It was like actually a deep sleep, like an actual sleep.
Steve, so what is it about the vaccine that does that to us versus like, if I get a cold or get the flu or whatever, it typically doesn't do what the vaccine.
Well, it does, just not as robust, not all at once.
Dramatic immune reaction.
Yeah, this is just, it's like a really. I mean, it's a pretty typical reaction that I would have, like if I had a bad cold or something. Like when you have that viremia, you know what that feels like. You just,
No.
your muscles are just weak and achy, and
I didn't
That's
have
the
a
name. That's the name for that.
What's that? Andrew? You
Viremia.
didn't what?
Sounds like something from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Viremia. It's like the virus is moving through your blood. Like it's just going everywhere.
The curse of viremia.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
this,
That's
yeah,
a good
this
subtitle.
infection.
Totally.
This was the Moderna one. It felt like I was really, really sick. Like I got the worst flu that I've ever had, except no upper respiratory symptoms, just all the systemic symptoms. And it was just bad enough that I could not get comfortable enough to fall asleep. Like at
And
no
Jay,
point.
remember, Steve's at the far
Yeah.
end of the spectrum. I'm at the other end. I barely noticed, except I did have a sore arm for a couple of days, but that was it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Steve, did you have bad reactions or strong reactions
Yes.
after the first two?
This
And
is
is that
pretty
a
much
picture of the third?
first one, not so much. First one, I had the sore arm, and that was it. Second one, I had this reaction. So this was identical to my second dose,
Yeah.
which I was pretty much counting on. But unfortunately, I wanted to do it close to the weekend, so I'd have the weekend to recover. But I couldn't do it today. I had to do it yesterday, so I had to still go to work. Last time on my second dose, I canceled my Friday. I just wasn't able to do it this time.
Friday is canceled, everyone.
Too crazy.
you anticipated it,
Yeah.
but you didn't know what your reaction was going to be.
You hope for the
After
best,
the-
prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Well, not the worst.
Do you guys hear the
That was
news?
the anti-vaxxer in the group.
Please.
Hear the
well,
news
there's
about Paxlovid? Paxlovid?
nothing.
Wow. Oh, is
Ian
that
and
the pill?
I did not have time to read the news today.
What
Is
is
that
what
the,
do you-
is that the pill in England?
What do you
No,
do
that's the
now?
pill. That's the Pfizer pill.
Oh, Pfizer's pill.
England also approved a separate drug. So it's an oral, these are both two oral medications that are antivirals. They treat the COVID infection. You take it as soon as you know you're sick, you take a course of
So what do
the
you do? Do you
antiviral.
shoot? Do you like take like a IV needle full with this stuff and squirt it in your mouth? What do you do?
no, it's the pill. So
I'm just
But
joking.
could you
Steve.
I know.
squirt it in
Classic
your
pill.
Could you? Could you squirt it in your mouth?
I have a blender. Hand you after.
so in the clinical trial, it
He's ignoring
reduced,
us, Andrea.
Yeah, I can tell.
yeah, it reduced. I have to just keep going and ignore all the shenanigans. It reduced hospitalizations by 89%, and no one in the treatment arm died. 10 people died in the placebo arm. So
Ooh.
89% reduction in hospitalization, 100% reduction in death.
It sounds like,
I like
the
that.
results of getting vaccinated, unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But this could significantly reduce hospitalizations and death from COVID.
but not herd immunity. It's not
No,
going
you
to help
still-
herd immunity.
No, but we're it actually over time, at least in the U.S. And obviously we've been struggling against vaccine hesitancy and whatever, but we have been inching forward. Vaccine rates are actually getting pretty good now, and in 2 months, the
Fine, pretty good.
vaccine mandates are going to kick in for large companies and for healthcare companies, et cetera. That hopefully will get us over
I'm waiting for that. Yeah.
that over the line. So we, this between really high vaccine rates and also getting the booster shots out, and now these two antiviral drugs, the end may be in sight. This is like the first time now in
What kind of
almost 2
end are you
years.
talking about? What
I mean,
kind
to
of
the
end?
point where life returns pretty much to normal.
Holy Christ! Could you imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
oh man, that would be a relief.
Again, it's still going to be with us. We'll still it'll be like the flu, right? We lived our normal lives with the flu, and now we're going to live our normal lives with COVID as well. But
yeah, the difference is though that we're not anticipating a variant of the flu that's going to make all of our vaccines irrelevant. That's
well, that's
no
because
one-
there
no one
already
thinks
is,
about-
Bob. That's because there already is
happens
multiple
every year.
variants of the flu that renders last year's vaccine irrelevant.
Of course, but nobody. How come nobody talks about? Holy crap! We're gonna get a variant of the flu that's going to be the real deal.
They do talk about it. What are you talking about?
The
Every now and
flu?
then. Remember H1N1? Do you remember the whole H1N1
Yeah,
thing?
you're just not in the right
Yeah,
circles, Bob.
but are you
You're missing it.
classifying? But are you classifying that as a flu?
Yes, that is literally
It
a flu.
flu. Yeah, that's the
H1N1 is
flu.
a variant of the flu that they were. Remember the swine flu?
How many-
Every now and then they do talk about a new variant of the flu that's going to be worse than the previous ones. It's going to be a pandemic, and every year we have to get a new vaccine precisely because it's a new
Right.
set of variants coming
But
out.
the numbers aren't the numbers. How dramatically are the numbers changing in terms of flu deaths? There's
Well,
variation.
Remember,
a
it's-
lot over the last couple of COVID years because everybody's wearing masks and doing what
Yeah,
No,
the
I know,
numbers
but
have been
but the-
non-existent.
So I mean, so we've been doing this for decades, basically. So
Yeah.
so maybe it's not that much of a concern after all, because we have not seen flu deaths go from 30, 40, 50,000 a year to 700,000. So
Well, the last time that
maybe it's-
happened
maybe
was in 1918. You know, and remember, you don't remember, Bob, all the talk and about the coming bird flu or the coming flu
Yes,
pandemic and
sure,
all
I
that.
remember that, but right.
So
But in my
it is a
mind,
concern.
coronavirus is distinct from the flu.
It is. It is. First of all, it's not a flu virus; it's a coronavirus, and this was the worst
Right. So,
respiratory pandemic we've had since 1918, since that flu pandemic. We've had
Right.
other ones. We've had SARS-CoV-1. We've had other, outbreaks of coronavirus and other respiratory epidemics or pandemics, but this is definitely the worst one. And now we have to, we're going to be waiting to see when's the next pandemic going to hit. And experts think it's going to be happening faster than once a century
Sure.
because it's just globalization, population, et cetera.
So all right. So my whole point, though, is why is there seem to be much less concern about a variant of the flu, wiping everyone out, but that there is for coronavirus. For coronavirus,
And my response
big
is
concern.
that premise is wrong. There is as much concern. You're just not remembering it.
And it was a big public health thing, if I remember, that was always trying to actually get people to take the flu more seriously and to get vaccinated, even though we all thought it was mild, and reminding people how many die each year from the flu.
So
way before COVID.
I'm just going to keep beating this dead horse. So, did anyone ever talk at some point in the past, like, we got to make sure that the flu is completely gone, like we've been talking about coronavirus, make sure it's completely gone so we don't get a variant that could wipe us all out. So did that discussion ever happen decades ago? And now it's so endemic that it's
not possible. But there is talk
Why?
every year
But
about
was
your
it
flu
possible?
vaccine.
Yes. Was it ever possible?
No.
Why? Why was it never possible for the flu, but it is for the coronavirus?
It's not. It's not possible for the coronavirus.
But it was possible last year, Steve.
Well, we didn't know. Well, when it was
at some point, we could have wiped it all out if people behaved like rational human beings. We could have wiped it out. Was there ever a similar point with the flu?
Well, no, I don't think so.
Okay,
but,
there's an asymmetry. There's an asymmetry there.
But not real. Only because the flu's been around a lot longer. The flu's been around for a super long time, and it just sort of it became endemic before modern medicine.
All right, that's a good answer. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Steve, good job. Bob approves. Everything's good. Now we can move on.
That's what I was looking for. Why there's that asymmetry? All right, we can move on now.
Whew.
Yeah. So and this is the point. The flu has been endemic for a century or more.
Bob,
and because the coronavirus, maybe there was a brief window where if we had kicked the shit out of it early on, we could have kept it from taking a foothold. Now it's too late. It's going to become endemic, and we're just going to have to deal with
the coronavirus. Just like
well, that gets to Jay's original question, I think, right? Which was, what does the end of this pandemic look like? And it's looking more and more like endemic as opposed to
absolutely. That ship
we're gonna have to live. We have to live with it now.
In my book, that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed.
We're still in the middle of an HIV pandemic. Technically, it's now endemic. It exists. We have to live with it. It's just another virus plaguing humanity, and we treat it. We treat it with behavioral changes to prevent spread, and we have a slew of drugs.
Behavior changes.
Hey, so dare I put some type of positive spin on this?
No.
Horrible pandemic. Let me see if any of this sticks to the wall. One, we're lucky that it was the coronavirus and not something, an order of magnitude more deadly, right? So we're dealing with a deadly virus who is dangerous, but the percentages, when you look at the overall percentages of people that caught it and the people that died, there are worse viruses that could have hit us, right?
Sure.
Oh, this is by far not the worst virus out there.
So what it did was it for the most part, I mean, a lot of people are in complete denial about reality in general, but
it's like Robopocalypse.
We ramped up our response, our awareness of it. We realized that a lot of countries aren't making the equipment and the materials that they need to help, masks and all that stuff. there was a big learning curve. Like, oh my God, we don't have resources for this. We don't have that. Where's that being made? Why isn't that being made in our country? That type of stuff. And also, it really gave the mRNA platform a massive lurch forward, right? We are on the mRNA platform now. Like it's in everybody's arm. We're using it. That's going to be the kick-ass method for dealing with viruses in the future, right?
It was coming anyway, but yeah, I see your point.
Accelerated it.
Yes, like many things, COVID accelerated. That was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Here's an example of a virus that did not become endemic, and we certainly hope it never will reach pandemic or epidemic or endemic proportions, and that is Ebola. Right, Ebola. We have these outbreaks every now and then, every few years. The outbreaks are usually at but they're at the village level. Like it gets into a village and 50 people die, 100 people die if it's bad. Then it got into a town, like a slightly bigger town, and thousands of people died from it. You guys remember that a few years ago?
Yeah.
And the fear was it was going to get into a city. If Ebola got into a major city, we would have had another 1 or 2 order of magnitude increase in the numbers. It wouldn't have been thousands of people dying from it. It would have been tens or hundreds of thousands. And if we didn't tamp it down before it started to spread globally, it could have been millions of people, or tens of millions of people dying from Ebola. That would be a really scary virus to get out into the population. But we prevented that from happening by responding very, very quickly. To tamp it down and prevent its spread.
I was living in Shanghai at the time of the last big Ebola outbreak, and would just ride the subway. It's a city of 24 million or so, depending on how you measure it. And I would ride this packed subway and just be like, if a speck of it shows up here, you're all
dead. Yeah,
right? We're done. We're just on top of each other.
Yeah.
Steve, someone asked a question: does Ebola tend to kill itself out? Basically, too fast of a burn?
No, nope. It doesn't. That's it. It spreads pretty significantly before it kills you, and also even after you're dead. Depending on how the body is handled, it could still spread.
The big saving grace, though, was that it's not airborne, because that would be bad.
It's fluid spread. Yeah, it's not
very bad.
Yeah, but that's what's scary.
It's not going to be
things like that, Bob, could become airborne tomorrow. You know what I mean?
But probably not. It would be very difficult for Ebola to become airborne. So
are there examples?
They're not really worried about that.
Are there examples of viruses becoming airborne where they didn't start out that way?
Steve, did you read?
Probably. I don't know if any off the top of my head.
Yeah, I couldn't think of really any.
Steve, did you read Hot Zone? I mean, I read that Hot Zone book a long time ago. My memory is telling me that there was a case where caged monkeys caught a variant of Ebola and spread it to another group of caged monkeys that had no contact.
I saw that movie.
The only contact was the air handlers.
Right. The monkeys broke out of the cage. Then they started biting people. Then those people became, virus zombies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bob, that was terrible. That
was.
I
saw that movie. Weren't there 12 monkeys in that movie?
So what happened?
It's always numbers.
They did have their own freaking planet.
So what happened is they were shitting a brick because they thought that it got airborne, and my hazy memory is telling me that it did become airborne, but it only affected those simians and not humans, and that kind of ended there. But I read it so long ago, so
it became airborne because they throw poop. That's how it became airborne.
Yeah, but they threw poop through the air handler and the ducts, and then out and into the next room.
Someone brought up another
monkeys are good throwers, so.
Someone in the chat brought up a good example of another infection, not a virus, this one's a bacteria.
Yeah.
Of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys realize how much of a scourge tuberculosis was even 50, 60 years ago?
Yep.
We may say yes, but the answer is no.
I would say no too. I'd agree with you.
Imagine this one thing. They built entire hospitals
on islands
completely with just everywhere. In fact, just to fill with the tuberculosis patients, hospitals dedicated to tuberculosis.
Yeah.
In fact, one at the VA in West Haven, so the part of like the Yale network where I work, the hospital has 2 buildings. one of the two buildings is the TB building because that was originally the tuberculosis hospital, and the other one was the main hospital. We still call it the TB building. And it wasn't until antibiotics, was able to get it under control. So again, life was able to return to normal because we had an effective treatment for it. But it's still around. Like we still have to isolate TB patients. They, test. I have to get tested every year for TB.
That's right.
People have to go on long courses of antibiotics to treat it. It's still plaguing us. We just got it to manageable levels.
Yeah, and it will probably become unmanageable at some point when all of our antibiotics are no longer useful. So
I used to manage video crews
that's nice.
that would go into operating rooms to do live broadcasts of surgeries. Everyone in the crew had to have TB proof of negative TB tests.
Wow.
You could not work if you didn't have that test.
Is TB the one that was called consumption in like old-timey literature? Okay. Yeah.
Consumption.
Such a great word. It sounds like an old-timey illness. I have consumption.
It does.
Well, they're always like
you died of the consumption.
And they're having consumption or something.
Yeah. But you're right.
So do you
think TB.
We're going to be wearing masks like every winter as a matter of course going forward, at least in cold places, given all of this?
I think so. After I think it was the 2013 SARS outbreak in China, they've been wearing masks since then. They never stopped wearing masks. It'll just be a matter of degree, like the number of people in situations. I would not be surprised if like as a healthcare worker, I'm just wearing a mask now when I'm in a hospital from now on. Yeah. That's just standard procedure. I'll be
wearing masks just because I got a lot of cool, creepy ones. So that's amazing.
I like wearing them in the winter. They keep your face warm. I put them on just for warmth sometimes.
Yeah.
And public health.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. If you have to go on a crowded subway during flu season, now it's like pretty much people just wear, people have masks. They know how to wear masks. No one's going to look at you cockeyed if you're wearing a mask on the subway. So like what's going on with this guy? So I think people will just do it in certain situations, and it's a good thing. Maybe we'll knock back our flu numbers permanently because we're just going to take more precautions in general. It's like when HIV came out, to use that example again. All of the other sexually transmitted diseases decreased in numbers because people who were using precautions for HIV were also preventing syphilis. There was the spillover prevention basically.
Well, I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Good, Andrew.
I was just going to say, not to be full of anecdotes from China, but being over there and observing, I was there from 2013 to 16 and observing people wearing masks quite a bit. And excuse me, I thought it was people being afraid of getting sick, but it turns out it's if you are sick, you wear it as a precaution from spreading it, which I hadn't seen. So my roommate who was from China was always wearing it. And that's how I knew she wasn't feeling well, which is, I think, not consistent with how we wear them these days in the US.
I've got a friend in Florida who said that if people see someone with a mask on, they assume you're from out of state because he's like nobody wears masks in public as of recently in Florida.
Yeah, in the U.S. there is a regional aspect to that. Absolutely.
I have an announcement.
Yeah.
Ian and I are getting married.
Congratulations!
What?
So Ian and I spent.
Tell your wife, Ian.
Jay has a proposal.
Look, all right. Here's the truth. Ian and his dad are making a pizza oven, and I want in.
That's no.
Yeah.
That's more exciting than marriage. I'll be honest.
It's very exclusive.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. Something wonderful has happened today, and that reality is that there is a brand new SGU store.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We're not talking about a pizza oven now? Damn.
No, we were pivoted over to SGU swag. So yeah, I remember I've been complaining and then I complained
and
about
complaining.
It was hard to tell when you weren't complaining.
So Ian and I had some questions that we had to get answered. We finally realized that the software that we actually wanted to use could indeed do everything that we needed to use. Like legit, we have discount codes now. Legit, we have I can give the different Patreon levels, like, the things that they're supposed to get that are store related, which is fantastic.
And that's legit. Look at what Rhett asked.
What is
international shipping ?
Yes, international. effing shipping.
All
Finally.
right.
All right.
When
It's
we
actually
did
technically international printing and shipping locally, but
yeah, shipping locally, which is good.
Well, in
'cause
that
you'll
case,
save
we're
more
not
money.
interested.
oh, I'm sorry.
But the
Think
yeah,
globally,
when
ship
Ian and I
globally.
when we dropped down the country list, like what is it going to be? A couple of countries. It was every country. I couldn't find a country that I wasn't aware of that wasn't on the list. So this is really cool.
Oh, it's
I'm
about
really
200
excited.
countries.
Awesome.
People want to know what. Look, I'm giving you good news over here. And Visto Tootie's like, "Where's the watermelon T-shirt?"
Okay,
Seriously.
fine. We'll make it. I'll make it.
Ian, delete
I'll
the
design
story.
it.
No, I'm done. Delete the story. No.
Delete the
So-
story? Okay, sorry.
We're super excited. It took us all day to finalize all the details, and we were, it was a million decisions that we had to make. Here's a note: good luck trying to figure out how to use Facebook Pixel. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say. People out
It's a
there
marketing
that have
thing.
tried, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Facebook.
I'm not even sure I know what it is.
Any listeners
it's
a
working at
tracking.
Facebook can help with that?
Yeah, it's for
Maybe?
tracking. I don't want help. I don't want Facebook anymore. That's where I'm at, Ev. I hate
Oh,
Facebook.
okay.
It's convoluted bullshit, and I don't like Zuckerberg. I don't like the whole thing. But focusing
Someone
on
asked
the
if they could pay with credit card. The interesting thing is you can only pay with SGU coin, which is our cryptocurrency that we're
yes,
introducing.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What's it up to
Get
now?
in.
About 100,000 a share.
Hang on. Steve is joking.
Oh, it just went down to $2.
I'm going to invest right now.
To answer the question, the Facebook Pixel is a way to track, web activity. So that means that Facebook, like if you put a Facebook Pixel on your website, it becomes activated every time somebody goes to your website.
Got
And then
it.
it can send data back to Facebook. Yeah, because they want to track everything that's happening.
Oh, so you're not talking about the Pixel phone. All right, I got
No.
you.
No.
So yeah, people go to shop.theskepticsguide.org for our audio listeners who don't see the link. And it's also on the homepage. There's a shop button, and try to break it.
Ian, people want SGU NFTs. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Non-fungible.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, I mean, we Ian and I dipped our toe in the pool, and we are currently at what we need to hear what Steve thinks phase of the step in that. So Steve, we have to have a talk about that if you want to actually go into that whole thing. I have no idea if people are kidding or if they legitimately want NFTs, but let me know because why not?
There's been a few mentions of SGU pizza ovens as well, so I have taken
That
that
we
at
can
face
do.
value.
Yeah.
And would like to see that, please.
Yeah,
That
the
would
cool
be
thing
definitely
is that the dough itself gets branded. It's embosses the dough with the SGU logo, which I think is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
What other good news? What else happened today? Oh yeah, we updated Discord. Skeptabrarian on Discord.
Hey.
Me and Ian and her got into a very detailed conversation. She told us things that the patrons want, and we delivered. Again, we delivered. Amazing, right, Ian?
Yep, totally. And one thing before I go, the patrons, you sent the post already out to them, right, on Patreon for the code?
I sent everybody. Every patron has received a 10% discount code.
Right.
It's an older code, but it checks out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew, I hope you actually laughed because you know what we're talking about, and it wasn't like you're so cute. What the hell are you talking about?
Laugh.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a polite laugh. I feel like I have a sense of why that might have been funny, but I couldn't tell you why.
It's a quote from Star Wars, Return of the
okay.
Jedi.
I just like the idea of giving someone an outdated discount code. So.
Yeah.
It's a running joke. Whenever we talk about a code, one of us, usually me, says that line. It's an older code, but it checks out.
So now what has to happen tonight is, Andrea, the second that this live stream ends, you'll hear your doorbell ring, and it'll be me with a DVD, and we've got to watch this particular movie.
All right, fine.
Oh, and a pizza from Ian.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm going to be disappointed if this isn't happening.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm very happy. Ian and I, we had to spend some time before this gigantic Denver trip fixing some things for the patrons. And, I put in the email, the message out to the patrons to send me feedback immediately if there's anything you legitimately would like to see. I'm not sure if the watermelon thing is legit or, again, if you're joking. So just please let me know if you're joking or not.
We'll like it. We'll make it.
Okay.
No.
The cool thing about print on demand is that you don't have to, there is no real overhead.
Cool.
They'll get the order in, and then the way that the factories are set up, they can print a single t-shirt certain
done
things
that.
like mugs and stuff like that, they probably don't print one at a time. They probably want to wait till you hit a minimum. But for the most part, anything that's made out of fabric, they'll print, right then and there, local to you, and ship it to you.
And the difference of not doing it bulk is like marginal on their part enough to make it worth their while, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, it's the blanks are the same price. It's just that they'll charge you more for the printing job if you're printing less, right? So
Yeah.
you know how if you print 500 t-shirts, you get a certain price. If you print 1,000, but the technology has progressed where it's all pretty much done by computer at this point. Like, people, there's so much automation in what's going on with this print on demand stuff that it doesn't take a lot more time to print one shirt.
Right.
The old school ways, they have to set up the printing press per run and get everything exact, and there's a lot of like handwork involved.
Oh gosh.
They're streamlining all of that. It's really awesome.
Step removed from Gutenberg.
So just to remind everybody, I'm leaving at 6:00 today. That the stream doesn't have to end, but we could do the quiz early if you guys would like.
All right.
the quiz.
Why are you leaving at 6?
Well,
he's gonna come watch.
I have to go. Yeah, I have to go straighten out Andrea, a little situation she's got over there. No, my friend Chris Pulio. Remember Chris Pulio?
Yes, I remember Chris Pulio.
Well, this is my annual. Like, I have to go see him. If we don't literally do something dramatic, we don't see each other because we both have kids. Andrew, you'll figure this out someday if you ever have kids. Your social life actually becomes a problem because you don't have one anymore. That's the problem. Yeah, so we've been promising to get together, and tonight's the only night that we would be able to see each other until after Christmas. So we thought maybe we should do something.
My sense growing up was that I thought my parents were friends with my friends' parents, and it turns out they weren't particularly. They just had to be around them because I was with them. And so I retroactively feel very guilty keeping my parents from their friends who aren't connected to me.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of them they fine, but I don't know. I mean, I imagine the adults you're around are not the ones you've chosen necessarily. Present company excluded.
Of course. Yeah. But we get the scatter effect. Like, everybody's lives in different places. So everything is farther away, and it's like a big rigmarole when you have a family and a house and everything. Like, my wife and I are dealing with we had a mold problem in our basement, and and I got the mold company comes in, and the whole deal, by the time everything gets figured out, it went from I thought it would be a 4-hour, get these guys over here, they'll figure out, they'll remediate the mold area and take care of it. It's a $50,000 job. They ripped out an entire room worth of sheetrock in my finished basement downstairs. Oof. Unbelievable what's going on. And it's all legit. It's not hey, we're just going to make money. The insurance company is leaning on them, not wanting to spend the money, of course. So they are literally doing the bare minimum. But one thing like that happens, and it's they're tearing up the floors in my house. That's what's happening. So yeah.
I feel like the last time I was here, or one of the last times, you had no working AC either.
That's true. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
I don't know how much
that's happening.
Yeah. It's all kind of connected because the air conditioner actually dehumidifies your house.
Yeah.
The air conditioning kind of acts as dehumidification. You're in some people's furnaces or whatever their HVAC thing is, actually regulates the humidity in the house too. So when all of that broke all at once, literally everything broke that's electronic in my life all at once. When that broke, my wife and I were away, and the humidity went way up in the house. Normally I'll turn on the dehumidifier in the basement in the summer anyway, and the humidity went up. But all that did was wake up the dormant mold that had already been there from a water leak that happened, earlier, with my dishwasher. So, mold is one of those things, it's everywhere. When it's dormant, it's no problem because it's not doing anything. It's not activated by water. Everything's cool. But as soon as it becomes active again, it can go ape shit very quickly. It can go from a very small nothing problem to you have to get people to rip out your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sucks. Nowhere near Steve's disaster where the studio got destroyed. Remember that? The kitchen got destroyed. The studio
a third
got
of
destroyed.
his house got destroyed.
Yeah.
From mold?
It wasn't mold.
A broken water line. The
machine.
connection to the washing machine broke,
which is on the top floor of the house.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, not the top, but the second floor. And
yeah, like a waterfall.
Yeah. So just
big waterfall
on the kitchen and then down onto the studio. My daughter was home alone, and she didn't notice it until it was breaking through the downstairs ceiling.
Oof.
Yeah, it was bad. Remember, I had her go down into the basement to turn off the water main, and she's like, "Oh, it's like a rainforest down here." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Oh my god!
I know.
Rainforest Cafe in the mall or something.
Yeah,
Andrea, things don't ever get worse than when the phone conversation between me and Steve starts with Steve saying, "Okay, Jay, don't freak out." I've heard that from Steve
Oh my
3
God.
times.
Yeah, right.
All 3 times.
Don't lead with that.
It was a complete no, but it is good because when he does that, he prepares me. He actually gives me a second to gain a hold of myself.
Yeah,
which it works. It worked the last couple. The first time it didn't work, but the last 2 times it worked.
Well, I've been thinking, because I just rent an apartment and I've been like, I should invest and buy, and now I'm thinking I'm going to keep not owning this because if it goes wrong, I can leave.
Well, there's something to be said for that. If you do the calculations, renting
is
cheaper than buying over the long haul.
It might be. Yeah, it might
in most situations, the increased value of your home over time doesn't cover all of the costs of buying the home. It obviously depends on a lot of things.
Equity,
like
man.
There's a lot of variables.
Yeah, but think about it. If you calculate, if you get a typical mortgage for your house, right? You have a $300,000 house. It's actually $600,000, like over whatever.
By the time you pay the mortgage off,
of the mortgage, there's all the maintenance.
That's a crappy mortgage, then, bro.
And there's
That's a
the
crappy
taxes.
mortgage.
That's a 30
Not
year.
true, Bob. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's worse than you think. Like the total amount you
spend, about double,
over the life of the mortgage is it is really that bad.
And the house probably didn't double.
And when you do all the calculations, even if the house goes up 50% in value or something, you've still spent more for it in terms of your money going out the door. Plus, again, all the taxes, all the upkeep and everything, as opposed to just paying your rent every month and you're out. It's
I think there are some vacancies in my building if anyone wants to move in.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat, somebody named Grimbeard in chat said, "Does Steve also do that with his patients? Like, okay, your test results are back. Don't freak out."
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Well, then you have to prepare patients.
Yeah.
You don't just dump it on. All right, so you have cancer. You have to build up to it and prepare them.
How do you do it? Just so I know what to be nervous about when my doctor. I get nervous no matter what my doctor says. Like,
so it's a whole science unto itself.
Okay.
In terms of how to give news to patients, good, bad, in the middle, complicated, or whatever, and like you never want to freak them out unnecessarily, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of rules. Like you never use the C word. Like you never say cancer until you're giving them the diagnosis, right? It's never. There are certain things you don't mention as a possibility, unless you absolutely have to, right? Unless the patient's like, I don't want to, get that test done. You're like, well, I really think you should do it. No, I don't want to do it. You have to keep going until you either convince them to do the test or you have given them complete. Informed consent, which means you have to tell them, I have to do this to rule out cancer. But anyway, if you have to give them bad news, you just prepare them. You say, unfortunately, the test results are not good, and this is what it showed, and let me explain to you what this means. And you have to have enough time. Like I would have. Just to tell patients that they had certain diagnoses, I would have like a 2-hour visit with them to answer all their questions.
Yeah.
Then give them time to process the whole thing. Like you can't just drop that and like, all right, next. You have to.
Yeah. Right. Like I really got
a brochure. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole thing about how to do that properly. It can get very complicated.
I couldn't imagine, Steve. All kidding aside, like that is dead serious stuff. Like imagine having. I know that you get better at it, but coming from like I'm a very emotion based person. Like it would destroy me a little bit every time I had to give news like that to someone. That would be very hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's
How
hard.
do you handle it? Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, so a couple of ways. Just the psychological stuff as you tell yourself that. Well, if I do a good job at this, at least there's that, right? At least I'm good at giving bad news, to the patient and letting them and talking them through it and helping them deal with it. Also, as tough as it is, I always remind myself I'd rather be on this side of the bed than that side of the bed. So, and it's gonna suck. There's no way to make it not suck. You just got to deal with it. But that's just part of the professionalism. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous when people don't freak out at bad news, like that they're gonna freak out?
People have different reactions. People have different reactions. Some people. So some people like break down in tears, right? And which is fine. Other people just go cold. And I've had people flee the visit. They're just like, I'm out of here, just like totally avoidant, and they just leave.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's not the most common reaction, but that has happened.
I'll tell you what they're feeling, because that's anxiety. People that have anxiety will vacate the premises, like they need a scene change. That will give them a little relief.
It could be that. It could be, I've had patients just respond with utter denial. Sometimes they just like go blank, and then like they're just not processing the information.
God.
And I've had patients like after a half an hour discussion about what's going on, talk to somebody else and have indicate that they have a complete misunderstanding of everything I just told them.
Yeah.
Because usually once you give the bad news, people can stop
down.
processing information at that point, which is also why it's good to have other people present, like family members, for support. And also for each additional person you have in the room, like a greater percentage of the information you give them is going to be remembered. And then usually when I meet with them the second time, I go over everything again. It's like now they've had time to sort of process it, to accept what's going on. The shock is over. Now I could actually give them information, even though I gave it to them already.
Yeah, the few times in my life that I've had to give people horrific news, it was horrific for me as well. So my memory of it is very vague. Like my dad actually died in my house, and I had to call everybody in the family and tell them. And I don't think I did that well. I don't think I eased anybody into anything. Like I remember calling people.
You did it right,
saying,
Jay.
What you did wasn't bad.
Yeah, I was traumatized though, so that's why I don't really have a memory of it. But you handled me in the hospital well, Steve, because you knew for certain. Like I still had this tiny hope that he might survive. And when I remember walking into the room where they bring families that have something traumatic happening, Steve just came over to me and put his hand on me and just said, "We lost Dad," and it was good. Wow. It was really. He did it very calmly and everything.
Well, I was the first one to the hospital, and so they told me that he died, and I had to tell everyone, in my family as they arrived that he actually did die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I imagine that's how your family, would want it.
Yeah,
I mean, no issue, no problem. Coming from you,
still
probably soften the blow to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's a weird moment. I haven't been in that specific situation, but it's a weird moment knowing you're about to tell someone something horrible.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know that they're okay right now and they're about to not be okay. And you have this choice to delay it or not.
Right.
Yeah. The game changer information, like you could say to yourself, right now they're blissfully thinking things are the way they should be, All
right, so there's a clear answer to that. And the answer is do not delay. So you have bad news to give somebody. Again, this is something that we learn when you're talking with patients. There's no chit chat before you drop the news on them. There's no talking about other things. You go right to the bad news.
Oh, okay.
Because they will resent it. If they'll say you're chatting with me about something else when you knew that this horrible thing you had something else, you go right to the bad news. Yeah.
Okay. But sometimes you don't give the bad news at all, ever, to somebody. And we all know the scenario where we did that. And it was the right decision.
I'll tell the story. Like, unless do you want to say it, Bob?
Nah, you can grab it. Go ahead.
I mean, bottom line is my grandmother, who was suffering from a 25 to 40% Alzheimer's situation. She wasn't completely there, but she wasn't completely gone at all. And she could understand things, but she had very bad memory. My mom decided not to tell her that her son died. And all she had to do was say to him,
her brother, my mom's brother,
her brother.
Okay.
all my mom had to do to say to her was, "Mom, you just talked to him last week. He just called you." And my grandmother would go, "Oh, okay," because you know, in the last year or so of her life, like I don't know, I kind of agree. I agree with the
No, that's
decision.
standard. That's actually standard as well. So we don't tell patients who have moderate to severe Alzheimer's that they have dementia or anything, because there's no point to it.
Right. Yeah.
They're not in the
can
decision
only
making
upset them.
role, right? They don't have to make any decisions because they don't have capacity. Somebody else is making decisions for them. All you'll do is make them upset, and then they won't really remember it anyway.
Then what are you going to tell them every day? You know,
it would have been cruel,
right.
So she would have relived
it's
it.
just cruel. There's no point to it.
Yeah, she would have relived that every day, like
Yeah.
she was hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And that, it at first I was like, "Holy crap, we're not going to tell her," but it makes in that scenario.
There was no
that
point.
makes
No
total
point
sense.
in telling her.
It would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
that's
reliving that like it was fresh, like every day, every other day. I could just see her like coming up to us saying, "Wait, is it?
Yeah,
did
Bob?
Bob die? Did Uncle Bob die? Like, am I remembering that right? Like, yes, Grandma. Like, it would have been horrible."
Jeez.
There's got to be a place like where it's blurry, where someone isn't so far gone that they can't handle it, but you're not so sure that they'll remember it. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a continuum. There's no sharp demarcation line.
Yeah. So let's do Evan's puzzle, and then we'll do the quiz. We have about 15 minutes before I got to stand up over here. 12. So what's happening behind you, Evan?
What's happening? I've got a set of numbers here that I before we turned on the cameras and started this web chat, I asked Andrea, can you see these numbers? She said yes. And I said, can you identify this set of numbers? And she took some time, probably about 15 or 20 seconds. And I think pretty much narrowed it down as to exactly what it was. She recognized that there were 8 numbers. Therefore, and the numbers being what they are, with a small one in front and and then 2 big ones kind of in the middle, that these have to do with the planets, perhaps. Yes, very, very good. Okay, so if that's the case, then how does this fit the planets? What number does this represent?
The number of times each planet has been visited by an alien species.
Oh yeah, that's close. That is very close. Jupiter there, 142,984 times. No, these are. So when you look up, what are the size of the planets? If you were to, Google that.
I know it's the number of jelly beans that would fit inside the planet in billions.
Are they like the Jelly Belly kind, or like those big Easter ones?
No,
Jelly Belly.
I hope it's the Jelly Belly. Those are so much better.
Yeah, they're better. If you're going to bother eating pure sugar, like they're not that bad of an option.
Hey, Bob, just so you know, I was thinking about doing the weight of the planets, and they were all expressed in the septillion kind of range of numbers, or octillion. So I was like, well, that's going to be maybe a little too convoluted. So I'll look for a number.
I would have liked that.
Planets that's a little more, but tangible.
So these density.
These are the sizes of the diameters of the planet. Diameter size.
In kilometers.
In kilometers. Yes, not in miles. In kilometers. Haha. Metric. Mm-hmm. Tons and tons of correct answers. So a lot of people got it right. So congratulations, everyone. Cool. And to you, Andrea.
Good job, everyone.
You got it.
Thanks very much.
So that's the puzzle.
All right, let's go over to the quiz.
Wait, do we want to show Bob's haunt?
We have a haunt?
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh, we just got a couple little short vids of me. The focus is more me than the haunt, which as it should be. But I sent a big video of the cemetery, the entire cemetery, but it was too long.
Yeah, I think I only have the 2. So here's the first one.
So this is me in the crypt. This is one of my favorite places to be. There's me in my costume coming out. I freaked out so many people. It was such a fun time in there.
Similar to the way you get out of bed in the morning, though, right, Bob?
Yes. No, I'm much slower getting out of bed. But I also had this little speaker on my hip that was playing very loudly these creepy zombie noises, and so it was a visual and an audible like assault that freaked out a lot of people. They were just running right by me. So that was the crypt, and the other area I liked stationing myself was the second video, Ian.
Let me see. Is it this one?
Oh boy, the aspect ratios.
Oh, yeah, it's wacky.
It wasn't that squat.
Cinematic 3-5 to 1.
It was
So
that miniature
that's-
haunt.
That's supposed to be a buried, partially buried coffin.
Ah!
Wow.
Still scary.
Should have told everyone, get close to your computer, to your screen, close.
Just squish. Yeah, everybody squish your
freak out.
monitor.
So I had a couple of holes
Your
in that
face.
door, so I could look out and see people coming. So right when they were as close as they could get, I would play the sound effect and swing it open, and I got people jumping out of their shoes.
Wow.
Some people looking at me pissed, like, you just scared me. And in my mind, I read their mind, and they were saying stuff like, you scared me so much, I embarrassed myself, and now I'm pissed at you. They looked at me like they were mad because I I think they had a little mini heart attack. But it was hilarious. So much fun. A lot of people just really almost literally jumping out of their shoes. They were just like, they didn't see it coming because we made it look like it was really buried and it couldn't swing open. So nobody thought that somebody was in there. For some reason, nobody seemed to think that anybody was in there, and I was. It was so
Foolish
much fun.
people.
That's
And only
foolish
2
mortals.
fatalities this year, right, Bob?
Yes.
2.5. It depends how you count it. We're still
Half a
talking to our
fatality?
lawyers.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They
When
were
you're
half
dealing
dead
with
already.
undead, people, it's kind of hard. But so that, yeah, it's a lot of fun. We did a couple thousand people, had so much fun. It was the best graveyard I ever created.
Wow.
I had projected spirits rising out of the ground behind, in the cemetery, as well. I'll try to post some of the good stuff on Facebook. So watch Facebook and you'll see some more, more of the entire haunt.
All right,
But
quiz.
it was a
before
blast.
Jay has to go.
Quiz. All right.
Yeah. That's
8
cool, Bob.
minutes.
Good job, Bob.
Thanks. Yeah.
I want to go. Why didn't I go?
Hey, we'll
Yeah.
talk.
All right.
Halloween's not over for me. I'll talk to you after the show.
All right, good.
All right, everybody. So we're going to go to the quiz, which is at darkenergy.games.
Andrea, what do you got going on? What you got? Any shows coming up?
I do. I have a bunch of shows in New York and a podcast coming out eventually called Majoring in Everything, which is about people who do art and science.
Cool.
And this is your podcast.
Yes. Yes. And I'm eventually going to come haunt, word intended, all of you to be on it at some point. So
I'd be happy. I'd be happy to do it. That'd be a lot of fun.
yeah. But yeah, otherwise just wandering around New York, shouting at strangers through a microphone whenever I can. So, but you guys are about to do a live show in person, right?
Oh, we have 3 shows coming up. So we have the extravaganza that's on the 18th, and then we have a private show the 19th and another private show the 20th.
Very cool.
Yeah,
It's been so
awesome.
long since we've been on stage. I feel like I'm gonna be on stage. Like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
You'll fall right back into it.
Yeah.
I'm excited though. It's going to feel so good. I mean, it's been so disjointed the last couple of years, and it's going to be fantastic to go on this trip with everybody and to see, to meet a lot of people. Oh God, it's going to feel so good.
Yeah.
I
You
can't
sort of
wait.
forget, for me, I sort of forgot that being on stage is really awesome. And Zoom isn't the same thing. It's cool. It's great. It's better than nothing for sure. And it allows you to do cool stuff where you're all over the place. But then once I got back on stage, I was like, oh, right. That's the drug we're after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like great immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It is addictive, and I wish I were better at it.
Plus, when
Bob,
I'm on
you're
stage,
great.
I don't do my own lighting where I look like I'm getting burned by the sun. I like going places where someone else does the lighting. So eventually just going to melt into the background.
Lighting is an art. Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Oh yeah.
All right, so guys, click the link. Everybody get ready to do this.
Get ready.
People trickling in a little bit.
If you're gonna do it, because I gotta go.
Jay's
Do
got to
it.
go.
All right. Well, let's get to it
Okay.
if you want to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to click synchronize when I say click. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, click.
Oh,
Take
you
that, Steve.
bastard.
That was.
Take
what
that,
the
got
Steve.
hell
me.
was that?
You got me.
What did you do? What did you do?
Brutal.
I'll tell you why
His
Ian did it.
cadence.
Because last week Steve said I've got Ian completely figured out exactly when to click. And Ian,
I've been thinking about it for a week.
Your whole week led up to that moment.
That's sad, actually.
I know. I know.
That was your
I
highlight of
apologize.
the week.
All right, it
Oh,
was
my God.
6 days. Is that better?
Yeah.
So
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I made somebody asked who made the quiz. I made the quiz tonight.
All right.
I make
Jay's
most
gonna
of
get
the
100
quizzes.
again.
So we can expect it to be technically very accurate and precise.
I checked every single one of these to make sure that I found at least one other place that verified, but
I like when the internet disagrees.
there's animal questions, and when animals are involved, you could find a website that says pretty much anything. Legit. You try it out, you'll be shocked. Can monkeys drive
do it every
cars?
week.
You're going to get sites that say yes and sites that say no.
I'm a monkey. I drive a car. I'm not a monkey, but you get.
Look, a
Monkey
Godzilla robot.
Why? Godzilla would not want to wear that crap.
Mecha Godzilla. Isn't that what that is?
Is that the Godzilla
Yes.
robot, or is that Godzilla in
Robot.
armor? It's not. in
Oh, it's a
armor?
robot. Okay, then he's a
Mecha
robot.
Godzilla.
I
right?
thought that was like
No.
Godzilla armor, and I'm like, he wouldn't put armor on. It's ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, where
that's
would
the ridiculous thing, Jay. Is
right. Who would smith him a set of armor? I mean, that would take a long time.
Okay, if we're ready,
Let's
Yeah,
do
oh,
it.
yeah.
time for the quiz, and away we go. Out of this list, what mammal can jump? Elephants, honey badger, sloths, or hippos? It does not include sharks.
No,
Chat.
there's a good joke in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yes.
While we're waiting, because I know
Oh,
that
boy.
you don't have to really think about this too long. I had a bad experience with Dell computers,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
which I
What
will.
happened?
They basically, sent me a lemon, and then I wanted them to replace it, and they basically couldn't replace it because they no longer have
Lemons.
they don't have a good processors and good graphics cards and good resolution on their
Well, they're having major supply line problems.
Supply line problems.
I ordered a computer 4 months ago, or whatever, 3 months ago, and then they keep pushing back the delivery date like 2 weeks at a time. I still
So-
haven't gotten it. They just keep pushing back the delivery date.
So the answer is honey badger.
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
What'd you call me?
Honey badgers
Honey
can
badger,
jump.
and he does not
That's
give
the
up.
answer.
I knew elephants couldn't because of the barriers that they use to prevent them from escaping. It's
That's
just a
right,
little,
elephants
it's a little
fly.
dip. They can't jump over it. Okay.
How many eyelids do camels have? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Jay, to clarify, do you mean per eye or total?
Per eye. That's a
Okay,
good question.
Oh, is it? Oh,
But having an odd number then wouldn't make sense.
right.
Right.
Exactly. So
Well, unless they're uneven.
that's all right. 3 of these
Yeah.
answers are wrong, so that doesn't matter.
But that's a good clarification. Thank you, Steve.
So per eye.
Per eye.
Per eye.
Don't.
Pariah.
It's just a stupid question. Don't get upset about
Are they
it.
like
Ask-
Are they
Play
like
stupid
Vulcans?
games, win stupid prizes.
They
Ah!
have yes, they have
And
3.
the answer is 3.
Where are top, bottom, and some kind of side situation?
I tried to find it. I tried to find
Yeah.
a video. I couldn't find it.
Oh.
Actually, Andrea, camels actually have 3 eyes, and there's 1 lid per eye.
Right, got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I do think though that they've got one going up and down and Who's Watchers. But if anybody knows, let me
Oh,
know.
hey.
Now I get it. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, all that sand blowing around.
Good protection,
Gotta have
yeah.
protection.
All right, next one. Which animal below cannot look straight up? Frogs, goats, certain lizards, or pigs?
Certain lizards.
Assuming they're not lying on their back, right?
Maybe even then.
Sure, right, yeah.
Not look straight up.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a weird
Assuming
question.
they're not pointed towards the sky.
Yeah, don't say like they could walk up on a ramp. Like, don't do
Right.
that.
I saw Charlotte's Web, so I think pigs can look up.
And the answer
They have to see the spider.
I love that book.
is
3
pigs.
seconds.
Oh, man.
It is physically impossible for pigs to look straight up to the sky. It's the anatomy of their neck muscles and spine that limits the movement of their head and restricts them to look totally upwards.
Charlotte's Web lied to us.
Yeah.
don't-
Can they not
Complete
just
sham.
rotate their eyes in a way? Yeah, and stand on a hill.
Not enough. They can't make their eyes look up enough to see it.
Wow. I didn't know I should be grateful for looking
Just
up.
roll on your back,
Yeah.
pig. You'll see up.
Yeah, yeah.
Pigs are cute though. They're cute little guys.
Yeah, they're smart.
They're adorable, and
They
they're
are smart, and they
way
are
too smart.
delish.
It's just a bad.
Let
thing
Ian
that
read
they
this because there's lots of
taste
stuff
so
to
good.
read.
What do
Right.
bulletproof vests, fire escapes, windshield wipers, and laser printers all have in common? 1, they are all invented for other purposes. 2, they all were invented by relatives in the same family. 3, they were all invented by women. 4, they were all thought to be useless by critics.
This is a good one, Jay. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had to make
Not-
up all
I don't know
the
anything about
fake
camels.
answers too.
Yeah.
Pretty confident I know the answer.
I hope you're right, Evan, for your sake.
Thanks, Eric, for
I
that
think I
insight.
know
We'll
one
tell
of
Frank.
these for certain. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yes,
I was
and
very wrong.
They were all invented by women.
Which one did you pick, Andrea?
I went other purposes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's the first one I thought of. I thought this is the one that would work. You know,
I recall watching something about bulletproof vests, a documentary or something, and I
What were
seem
they
to
proof
recall
for?
about women.
So
and
laser
a
printers
woman
were
invented it.
first made for what? As a paperweight, or how would a laser
What?
printer have a different application?
Bob, you completely missed the whole thing. Like they were all invented by
But
women.
I got it right, dude. I'm just answering.
He's just trying. Yes.
I'm trying
Well,
to
women
understand
need
Devil's
why.
advocate.
too. All right.
All right, next question. A
misunderstood.
snail can sleep for how long? Approximately 1 week, approximately 2 months, approximately 1 year, approximately 3 years.
Sleep. So it's sleep. It's not like hibernation.
Sleepy.
I wouldn't. If you're sleeping for 2 months, that is hibernation
Right.
or estimation.
Well,
It's a hibernation.
I don't agree with that
It's
statement.
a hibernation.
A bear
agree.
hibernating is a completely different process
It's just not sleep.
than
Sleep
getting
is all-
Z's.
Jesus. I'm not
Oh,
doing
can I change my answer? No, I can't.
No. And the answer is approximately 3 years. When snails get dehydrated, they can fall into a sleep for up to 3 years without water.
Torpor.
Yeah, so it's the dehydration aspect of it that
Mhm.
actually puts them into like torpor sleep.
How do they come back out of it?
Water.
You just pour water on a snail and it'll come back to life?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
that's
wouldn't
it.
want to be awakened that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure, Bob?
Hello?
It would, but think
We'll try
about how
that.
bad you would feel, Andrea, if you slept for 3 years because you were maximally dehydrated. That would be a really shitty hangover, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Better than dying though.
Yeah, I feel bad after one night. So
I will hit stop on that one.
I have a dead dog in my garden.
Someone made a good point in Charlotte's Web. So if you came across a pig and above the pig was a spider's web that spelled out some pig or whatever, would you be impressed by the pig or the spider?
The spider.
Right?
oh, interesting.
Yeah, the spider, but I'd
the
be impressed
spider.
with both because they could both talk.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll put that. I mean, I don't think to the humans, the animals could speak.
I saw them talking on the.
So I got the listeners on how many eyelids. Most people guess 2. And I got the listeners on the snail can sleep for, they guessed 2 months.
yeah, those are the two I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a good spread. I hope everybody had fun.
Hey, Steve, I have to leave with Jay too. I got to deliver these birthday cards to my wife. We're having a birthday thing.
Well,
So
Steve, just take a bunch of
too must
questions.
go.
Also, there's a whole bunch of stuff I sent Ian about what happened on the internet this week that you
Yeah.
guys can talk about.
There was
let's
something
start
else
with
from
that.
chat. There was a couple things from chat if people want to watch the ad from, I believe, Australia that tricked Joe Rogan.
Yeah, you should do that. I'm going to say goodbye. Andrea,
All right.
are you
As am I.
available for a phone call this weekend? I had to ask you something.
Yes, but I'll also see you for movie night in a few minutes.
Right.
Yes.
But
Otherwise,
I
I
don't
am
wanna
also
mix,
available.
see, I don't want to mix work with pleasure, though.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
wouldn't
perfect.
talk about it.
Perfect.
Jay, I'm available
Just
for a call.
give me
too.
the bad news right away. That's all I ask, Jay.
The bad news: there's no
Callback.
pizza.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.
right.
Have a
Bye,
good day.
guys.
Bye.
Jay,
Bye.
Great
Bye.
Friday.
All right.
Finally, he's gone.
Yeah, we got rid
Yeah.
of the riffraff. I mean,
Now we
Yeah,
the
really.
core crew is here.
Here we go.
All right, let's talk shit about Jay and Evan now.
Oh,
If they're
perfect.
not here. All right, Ian, show us the Joe Rogan video.
All
It's
right.
actually the video is funny.
Yeah, the video is good. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Should play. You know what? Let me play it a different way.
Oh, that's
Playing
much
now?
better.
Is that your baby in the background, Ian?
Yeah, sorry.
Giggling in the
Aw.
no, keep it. I love it.
Yeah.
Is it playing or is it being weird?
It's not
It's
playing.
being weird as in Frozen.
Dang it. Okay. I'll talk amongst yourselves about how.
Andrea, what did you do for Halloween?
What did I do? Nothing nearly as cool as you. I'll say that. What did I do? I take a ballet class in Central Park, which is very fun, and we all dressed up. So I wore a Pac-Man costume that I made out of a piece of yellow foam board.
Nice.
and some electrical tape around my neck. Oh, there we go.
Okay, there we go. Now it triggered. Sorry. Okay, here we go.
You're having a reaction. You're gonna be fine. Hold still.
Wait, what brand EpiPen is that?
I don't know.
What's in it?
Medicine.
Medicine? How long is it research for?
I don't know.
What are the stats from Europe?
You could die.
What does Joe Rogan say? Call Joe.
We don't question the science when our life depends on it. So why question it when millions of lives depend on it? Science has our backs. Get the vax.
So what do you mean he fell for that?
So, well, he thought that was a genuine public service announcement from Australia, and he was criticizing it, as stupid propaganda. And then he didn't realize, probably because somebody told him, he had to say, "Oh, I just learned that was a satire. That was a satirical public service announcement on a satirical website." Which, is it's obviously it's fun to make fun of Joe Rogan, but that's an easy mistake to make, and you have to add that algorithm now. Like when you see something on the internet like that, you always have to ask, is this real or satire? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference,
I even knew it was satire, and I was like, I don't know. At the end, it sort of sounds convincing. I don't love the messaging or the way that they've done it, right? But I mean, I agree with the spirit of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't obvious. Yeah.
That wasn't obvious. No, I mean, there are times when I've been fooled by things like that for a moment, that and then I had to go, all right, is this real or not? You have to go through that process reflexively. Certainly before I would do anything like talk about it on the show or tweet about it or anything like that.
Deep dive required.
Yeah. Is it real? But I don't think Joe Rogan, if you want to criticize him, I don't think he has that process of asking, is it real before he says it. Before he says something.
And what was his? I guess he just lashed out because it made him
because
sound.
They invoked his name. Yeah.
He called it like dystopian or something about Australia's policies.
And dumb propaganda.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of other videos that Jay sent, mostly
Any
from
good?
Reddit. Yeah. I kind of skipped over a few. I mean, some are Halloween-esque. They're kind of fun, so maybe Bob will like them. Let's see if this one plays.
I will love this one because I sent it to Jay.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
This was probably...
That's epic.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. That's good.
Steve's daughter, Autumn, does...
Yeah. She
stuff
does
like
that kind
this.
of art.
Really?
It's so cool.
It never would have occurred to me to do something that awesome. I mean, it's amazing. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, now I feel even more embarrassed about my Pac-Man costume, I have to say.
There's a lot of them. That's on Reddit.
Cool.
There were a couple other videos. We could take some questions, maybe. Here's a question from the Discord. Should I read the Asimov's book in order they were made or in Asimov's recommended order?
No.
I don't know. I just reread the whole Foundation series, and I read it in the order they were published. I think, to me, that's a good way to do it because you follow the process that Asimov went through in evolving his own world and his own writing. And you know what I mean? It would be jarring to read the prequels that were written last and were the most developed, and then you go back to the first book, which is,
Lame.
well, it's not, it's rough.
It's rough and hard. It's hard to read if it, in modern times.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie from the 1940s. It's like, all right,
That's right, Kappa. Yeah, no, it was totally dated in so many ways. And, he evolved as a writer, science fiction evolved as a genre, technology evolved, futurism evolved, so many things changed. The Foundation series is actually an interesting way. It's almost like a little time capsule of science fiction because it's such an epic series, and written by one of the greats, Asimov, and you could really see how it evolved. To me, that's interesting, and the story is not as interesting as that. So I guess it depends on what you want to get out of it.
And I guess you could, whichever one you do, if you have the time, you could do it the other way. But I would imagine, I share your view, Steve, that going in the order that it existed makes sense. But then I guess if you really were into it, like someone I know in grad school got a big DVD of The Godfather that was respliced to all be in order of everything that happened.
Yes.
Like, you can watch that first.
Totally chronological. Yeah.
It could be cool to do. And this, now that I've been outed for not knowing my Star Wars, I mean, should someone watch, what order should you watch the movies in? I know it's based on, we could talk about where else to watch it, but should someone start with the first movie, prequels, and on up?
4, 5, 6, and that's it.
Doesn't matter.
4, 5, 6, and that's it. Yeah.
I would say it doesn't matter for Star Wars.
I fell asleep during several Star Wars, but then was very into The Mandalorian. So I don't know if that counts.
Ooh, Mandalorian is good.
That helps. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. All right, good.
Well, I mean, I think storytelling out of sequence can be very powerful and effective.
Yeah.
It's a great device. And in fact, like being entirely linear, as they say, is not always best and is kind of, amateurish in a way. It's like if you can only tell a story in a just strictly linear way. Telling it out of sequence, when it's hard to pull off, but when done correctly, is a powerful storytelling device, because you're controlling what the viewer knows, at certain times and backfilling facts. So I love it when you see, part of a movie, a scene or a part of a movie, and where you are encouraged to make certain assumptions, or you just don't have information, and you come to the completely wrong conclusion. And then you backfill the story and it makes you reinterpret everything you thought. That's powerful.
And you go back and look for clues. Oh, right. If it was that guy or whatever. Yeah.
But I think it's problematic, Steve, if you try to do that on your own. And like if you're looking at Star Wars, like 9 pictures, what order do I watch them in? Doing them in a very, idiosyncratic order might be like, well, you're doing that yourself. You're not the movie maker. So
do it in the order that the artist intended.
Yes, so do it in the order of the release. I think makes sense for stuff like that.
I guess the weird thing about the Asimov case is that the artist, is recommending a different order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, as opposed to just knowing that it sequentially.
Yeah, right.
So it's actually ignoring what the artist says.
Yeah, but there's also, writers can get too close to their own work. Like Martin totally got lost in his own Game of Thrones world.
I've been thinking about Game of Thrones as we've talked about this.
Like he got lost in his own world. And he even admitted that he said, like, there are 2 kinds of writers. Mm-hmm. There are writers who plan and map out everything from the top down. Like they know where the whole story is going. It's all mapped out. And then there are writers that create a world like planting a garden, and then they just see what grows. And he's very much that type of writer. And which can be good in terms of the world building, and the world of Westeros, I thought was very detailed, very fleshed out. Again, I love the cultural aspects of it, but he completely got lost in the weeds of his own world.
Just a huge overgrown forest.
Yeah, right.
Plus, I read that he said once that it's very difficult. He got to a point where making all these characters meet when he wanted them to meet, because they were far away from each other, was so hard that he said he spent an inordinate amount of time trying to make everyone meet when and where he wanted them to meet. So
and then in the HBO version, they just completely ignored space and time.
Yes,
and just
I was going to say.
People were teleporting.
You got there in a day, really?
Yeah.
Seriously, I've seen the map. That's not possible.
It was like journeys that took an entire season.
Yes.
Where it's like, we invented airplanes, like Delta Airlines.
Yeah, right. Here we go. Did you fly a dragon there? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
They just phoned in the last season. Don't get me started.
Yeah. But I used to console myself because I'm bad at outlines and then writing. I like to just start and see where I end up. And so I'd always be like, well, if it's good enough for Martin, it's good enough for me. And now I'm a little like he's got to come through with these books or I'm in trouble.
Yeah. What's interesting is that most of the fiction writing that I have done is in the garden form because I write role-playing supplements. And when you're writing role-playing, you can't map out what's happening because the characters who are playing the game determine what happens. So all you can do is create the world and see what happens.
Right.
It's at the extreme end of that, of that spectrum.
Entirely bottom up, basically.
Yeah. You just like these are their motivations, these are what the relationships, these are what's going on. And now let's just see what happens. And you try to make it dependent as much as possible on what the players do.
Yeah. Which is how Game of Thrones, the early Game of Thrones begins, right? It's just sort of like 12 main characters, then they're each tipped in slight directions, and it all builds from there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has more top-down say, but similar sort of thing. Yeah.
Wasn't there supposed to be like multiple Game of Thrones based series coming out?
I think they're still in the works.
They're still in the works. Yeah.
Parallel Worlds and Easteros or whatever.
Or
It's
just
earlier.
just like prequels and sequels and stuff. I mean,
Hundreds of years.
I haven't heard anything about it in so long. Maybe the last season just kind of.
No, there was news about it relatively recently.
Okay.
Good. Last month.
All right. You got any questions for us, Ian?
People were wondering, Andrea, has anything happened to those knives behind you since the last time?
Literally nothing. Though I did use one yesterday, and I was very pleased with myself. I used the smaller one to cut up some beets, and I had way too many beets. So that's what's going on with me. I'm a horrible cook, and it looked like my whole counter was bleeding. But thank you all for asking. I almost used the scissors the other day. This is the least satisfying answer. Yeah. I ended up
eat all the beets?
to use a power or a paper cutter instead. Yeah.
Did you then eat a large meal of beets?
I ate as many beets as I could handle, and now I have a whole bunch more in the fridge. Like I never cook. I don't have a volume sense of food. And so I even added potatoes. And you're supposed to roast things in a single layer, and it was just a mound of roasted crap. So everyone's invited for dinner. It's not good.
The last time I had a large
Australia.
No, I had like a side of beets, for lunch one day. This is a couple of years ago now, and then like the next day, when I took my morning pee, it was red. It actually was mauve, but it was whatever. In the lighting, I'm like, oh shit, my pee is red. Yeah, and I'm like, I was all set to go, to make an appointment with my doctor and go and get tested because, there's no good reason why a guy should have blood in his urine. And then I remembered the beets.
Beets.
Yeah. And then it also explained why the color was a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, when I think of beets, I think of Australia. Do you know why?
Yeah, because they would put beets on their hamburgers.
On hamburgers?
That sounds good, actually. I feel like as a vegan, I had to crowbar that in every episode, but I shouldn't weigh in on hamburgers, but I feel like it would be good because they're earthy and mineral.
Yeah, we weren't.
I could see it.
No?
I could see
it. A roasted beef? Come on.
And then I wanted some ketchup. I mean, I like ketchup on my hamburger, and they felt like they didn't want to give you ketchup. And then they would give you like one little packet. Like
they sold you a packet for a quarter a pop.
Oh my God. Paying for ketchup. Yeah, it just
that's un-American.
In Macedonia, they put ketchup and mayonnaise on pizza, which is unusual to me. I don't know if that's something that you all do.
No, that's disgusting.
No. Yeah.
Although ketchup
that's an abomination
on a hamburger
mayonnaise
is
on pizza?
Delicious. That's delicious. A mixture of the ketchup and mayo.
Really?
I don't do it. I never do it. But when I used to get them at Duchess, that's what they did. I'm like, damn, that's good.
Okay. Isn't that just Thousand Island dressing? I mean, that's like.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Ketchup and mayo is French dressing, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe it's French or Russian. No,
Russian. You're right, Bob. It's Russian dressing.
Russian is essentially oil and mayonnaise. I think.
Yeah,
it's just like pure fat. But delicious. I
read a surprisingly heartwarming Reddit thread the other day. Maybe you all saw it too. That was someone asked like, what's something the U.S. does right? And I and everyone else on the subreddits clearly thought that we were all just going to say mean stuff. But everyone was just talking about like, well, national parks are really nice, and this is nice, and that's nice. And a lot of people said ranch dressing. And that like, but like American ranch dressing, apparently it's very hard to get around the world. And people were talking about how you can ship powdered ranch so you can make it yourself elsewhere. And I didn't know that was a thing that we were proud of, but now I'm proud of ranch dressing.
Proud of you.
Good to know.
Yeah, good for us.
I didn't know that was an American thing.
Like it was like our natural. It was like our parks and our ranch dressing. It was like what America boiled down to. It's like, all right,
cowboy sauce.
Yeah.
We have 2 questions left. Do you want to talk about COVID booster shots, or what do you think about the Foundation TV series?
I could talk a little bit about Foundation TV series.
Now wait, I'm not caught up at all because of
I haven't seen any. I'm way behind.
All right, so Bob, Jay, and I reviewed the first episode for Alpha Quadrant 6. I don't know if Jay put it up yet. If not, it'll be up soon. I think we should do another review once the first season's completely over.
Okay.
So there's a lot that I like about it, but as the season goes on, it's departing further and further from the book, and not in a good way, in my opinion. Man. Now, I understand there's a couple of changes that I thought that I agreed with, adding backstory to flesh out the characters and flesh out the initial action, because otherwise it would have been very disjointed. Again, it would have been like, again, the famously unadaptable book, because you jump ahead 35 years, you have to change your characters every few chapters, and etc. It'd be impossible to like really make as a compelling series. So fine, we'll add some backstory and make these characters more interesting, and basically spread out the first few sections of the book to make a season out of. They also went out of their way to create some character continuity, which again I also understand. Like they made the Emperor a clone, so it's always the same actors playing the Emperor from generation to generation, because it's a clone sequence. You know what I mean?
No, it's Friday.
So that was clever. I like that. And they did other things to create some continuity as well. The thing I don't like is that they're now just sort of turning, and I don't know where they're heading. Maybe they could bring it back around by the end of the season, but it's turning into just this action science fiction nonsense that's a little disjointed, and they're losing again, you always want an adaptation. Again, I'm not a purist. I am not a purist. I understand that different media require sometimes even significant changes to a story and the way it's told, etc. But you want there some essence to remain, right? Like I always think of Mission Impossible. The Mission Impossible series was awesome because it was, again, the competency porn. Like they're pulling off these elaborate, highly technical missions, Yeah. And then they turned the movies into, action movies that completely lost the heart and soul of what made Mission Impossible great. And I feel like the same thing is happening with the Foundation series, that they're kind of losing the essence. It's no longer this more intellectual battle among the players, and it's just a gunfight and something and an action kind of sequence. That
sounds a lot like how Game of Thrones went. I know there's other different stories in terms of how the books aren't done and all that. But when are we going to learn our lesson about this?
Right, or The Hobbit, which was abomination. I mean, like I understand they wanted to make The Hobbit into 3 movies, and they had to add some backstory, and some of it was good. I liked the White Orc, actually, that whole subplot line. But the action sequences they added were ludicrous and just a distraction from what was good. Again, what's good about The Hobbit? It's you just love all the characters. The characters are just wonderful. How about let's spend more time with these characters? And there was actually a lot of material in that book that you could absolutely stretch it out to 3 movies. But adding in these ridiculous action sequences that took you out of the movie just was, really, really tanked that trilogy. So again, so the Foundation series, I'm getting more and more disappointed as the series as this season goes on.
I was excited for it. Okay.
I mean, I think it would be if you go into it without even thinking about the books and just think of it unto
that's
itself.
what I'm going to try to do.
It's good. I mean, it's I love the actors. It's the world building is great. The story I think is still a little bit like they don't quite know what they're doing. That's part of the problem because they're they had to replace the purely intellectual drama from the book with something more visual. But I don't know that the writers of the screenplay are as good as Asimov in terms of doing that, and they didn't do it. The balance isn't good. The balance would have been add some more action and intrigue or whatever, but keep the essence of this is mainly an intellectual story.
Yeah,
and I think they're losing that essence. Is my sense right now. But I'll watch it through.
Trust us to be able to keep up with that, or they're just appealing to the broad masses, or I'm just trying to understand where the.
I don't know. I mean, I think
that this kept ending up here.
Part of it is, I think, when there's a hugely successful thing, everyone wants to replicate it, and so I think every platform is looking for their Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be like Game of Thrones,
Yep.
And like, no, it doesn't. And I don't know why they will never fucking learn. There's my fuck for the Wolfie. How has that ever worked out? Has that ever worked out when you just replicate something successful? And do you think that that's actually going to be successful in itself? Or
yes, message from space, replicating Star Wars.
Yeah,
we walked out of that movie, by the way.
But all the hugely successful things are successful partly because they're new. It's something new.
Yeah,
and you can't replicate that by doing it again. You know.
Well, you see that with like second seasons of TV shows and sequels that weren't originally intended and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Have you guys already talked about Dune on the show? I recently watched the new one.
A little bit. Yeah, we talked. We also did an AQ6 episode on Dune.
Should be released. We loved it. We just flat out loved it.
Yeah. Cool.
Fantastic. Again, sort of Dune, epic classic sci-fi series, great world building. Love the world. I mean, it's just interesting and creative. Because again, you run into that problem of how do you imagine 10,000 years in the future or 8,000 years in the future? With digital technology, it's going to be so off the hook. You can't even imagine what that would be like. So they just get rid of the digital technology. They ban it. And so now it brings it all down to something we can relate to.
Yeah.
But with, but you're flying around the galaxy, et cetera. So cool brilliant idea. Love the story. Yeah. But there's a certain, because of that choice, there's a certain vibe to the Dune world, right? It has a certain vibe. And if you don't catch that vibe, then it falls flat. It's like that the sci-fi series Dune was horrible because completely did not get the vibe of Dune. Yeah, it didn't feel like an advanced technology without computers. It felt like they had holograms. They had like stuff that looked like a computer was doing it. They completely missed the whole aesthetic, of the book. So this I thought was, it was Villeneuve. He did a fantastic job on the visuals, but I also thought it was extremely intense. Like it wasn't melodramatic like David Lynch's version of Dune, which I still love as a cult classic myself, but it is cheesy, melodramatic, cackling, villain kind of thing, cartoonish. Villeneuve's was just this simmering intensity throughout the movie that was fantastic, I thought. What did you think, Andrea?
Hans Zimmer's music, I agreed. It was awesome. Oh, yeah. I didn't know it was going to be released. Well, I'm glad you said that about the technology because I was thinking about it afterwards, and it was like, in addition to the cool Dragonfly helicopters, there was like the Thumper, and that was it. Like technology was brilliant. I didn't know it was going to be in 2 parts, and I kept thinking, how are they going to wrap this up? And I was braced for it to suck so bad, and then I was like, oh, thank God, it's not over. I mean, it might have been nice with one huge long thing, but
it said part 1 in the opening title.
I must have totally missed.
She was getting popcorn.
Or I thought that there was going to be a part 2 within But I agree. Atmospheric. You're in the world. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it at home. I kind of wish I had seen it.
See it in the theater. See it in the theater.
Yeah, big
in
screen.
3D. In
Big
fact,
screen.
see it again. Go to a
whatever.
theater with 3D and
Yeah.
watch
Ooh,
it again.
I don't want to wait till 2023 to see the sequel, but we're gonna have to wait.
You
But I
have
also
to.
want to see a prequel. I want to see a trilogy of why don't they have computers? The whole lead up as to the whole clash with humanity and the AIs. That I want to see that because I read the prequel, Steve. You did as well.
Yeah.
And I know that his kid did a lot of that. But it was so much fun. Oh
They
my
were
God.
good. The
So much
prequels were
potential.
good in terms of the storytelling, but they didn't have Frank Herbert's genius.
No, they
So
didn't.
Frank
But still,
Herbert
robots and
Herbert's
AI. I'm with you.
actually a very skeptical writer. There's a lot of skepticism in his books. And that really struck me when I was reading it. And you know what I mean? Because it's science fiction. Not all science fiction writers are necessarily going to have a critical thinking kind of perspective on truth and facts and philosophy and whatever. Herbert did. He absolutely did. Like just not having any magic or whatever, just having it all really make sense. And the prequels written by his son and some other author, I forget his name, but
yeah,
they didn't have that. They kind of lost that that aspect of it that Herbert had, which was a little disappointing. But as storytelling, it was
fun.
good.
It
it really
fun.
did fill in the backstory of
I remember
why they
the Audible
banned computers. Yeah.
I remember listening to the audible versions of those, and I think Tim Curry narrated some of them, and he's just a master at narration. My God, he's a genius.
I was going to say, I feel like that could lend itself well to audiobooks. I don't really have that opinion about most books, but yeah, okay, cool.
All right, we're at 6:30. So if there's a last quick question, we could do it, or we could just end here, Ian.
Have any COVID booster shots been tweaked in the first ones to deal with other variants better?
No, not as far as I know.
Huh, easy answer.
They need to be.
Yeah.
But because that would require, you have to. There's a lot of development and et cetera to do that, and approvals and whatnot. So I've heard that they're developing that. Like I know the Moderna. They're developing a new version of the Moderna vaccine to cover the newer variants, but that's the last I heard of it. But I haven't heard of it being approved or actually being out there. I think they already have like a billion doses they got to get rid of, But hopefully, like as with the flu vaccine, again, now what's an interesting question is. After the booster, like the response to the booster is really good. It doesn't just get you back up to your maximal like vaccination, antibody response. It may actually even be better, than you ever got with the 2 doses. The question is, because this is the way, the immune system works. Each subsequent exposure gets you a more robust reaction. It's possible that we could have a longer term immunity after the booster. I hope that's the case. So,
that'd be
but
great.
now the question is, how often will we need to re-up on the booster?
Right.
Is this? I mean, it's not going to be lifelong immunity, but will it be 6 months again, or maybe we could push it to a year, maybe 2 years? Hopefully
nice.
We'll get to a year. Then we just get our annual flu vaccine, our annual COVID vaccine. That's fine. Get them at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for, but we'll know when we know, right? We just got to wait. We'll know in a year or whatever, how long, when we track the persistence of the immunity. And then if we have to get it every year, let's say, they should iterate the variants, right? Instead of just keep vaccinating us to the original variant, they need to update it to the new variants, just like we do with the flu vaccine. So I expect that to happen.
Yeah.
But we're still in the initial phase of just trying to vaccinate the world, So we'll see.
And a lot of it will depend ostensibly on how fast it evolves, which has to do with how much we vaccinate people to begin with and all that stuff.
Yeah. When the pandemic itself cools down, the emergence of new variants should slow down as well.
Yeah.
It's the the COVID does not mutate as fast as the flu virus does. So it still does. It still new variants will emerge fairly often, but not nearly as fast as the flu. And again, it's basically proportional to how many people are catching and spreading, the virus. How much is it breeding?
We're almost lucky that I think we're almost lucky that we got a variant that spreads very efficiently, but is also not super deadly. So it's hard for another variant to take hold. But if this one becomes efficient and more deadly, then that's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
But that probably wouldn't happen in one go because the mutations are different for catching it quickly and deadliness. But you're right, and that actually literally happened. There was another variant. I believe it was Epsilon variant or the Mu variant. The Mu variant that
the cows caught that one.
It's a Mu variant. It's a Muon, but Mu.
It's Muon.
Not a Muon. It's a Muon, right?
No, it's a Muon.
No, it's a Muon.
No.
Right, anyway, but I'm sure it's the Mu variant. The Mu variant was maybe more deadly, and also might have not been covered as well by the vaccines, but it never got a foothold because it was outcompeted by the Delta variant.
Mm-hmm. And the Delta variant was enough to have immunity or resistance. Like if you got that to the Mu variant,
just used up, just cock blocked the Mu variant, basically.
This is the terminology we need in this pandemic at this stage.
Not to get technical on you, but
yeah. People are asking, and I want to know too, did you mix and match or did you do Moderna, like the same ones?
I did all three were Moderna. That's what they were offering at Yale. I didn't really have a choice.
I think Jay mixed and matched.
They're not mixing and matching, but the difference is that mixing and matching, it's fine. It may even be a little bit better. And the CDC has signed off on it, so it's fine if you mix and match. But that's just not what I was offered. So I just
I feel like irrational brand loyalty to Moderna now. I feel like it's like part of my identity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Team Moderna.
Yeah, it's funny. All right. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. This is
it was great.
It was a pleasure talking with you all. Thanks to everyone who watched and commented. Always love hanging out with you guys. So thanks. And feel better, Steve. And Bob, have fun with your wife? No. Whoever you were on the phone with, who you said.
Oh, that was my mom.
Your mom. Okay.
I wouldn't have answered it if it were anyone else because she could be, lying on the floor bleeding. So I'm like, I got to answer this. Oh, she's like, whatever. She's like, where are you?
It wasn't urgent.
It's every Friday. You know what happens every Friday.
Awesome. Well, say hi to your mom.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ian. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Andrea. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.